So today we're going to focus kind of on the central area of the body, on the hips and on the abdomen. So we're going to start seated. So find yourself in a comfortable cross-legged position. This could be with the legs literally crossed. You could have a deer posture where one leg's out to the side. I know some people prefer that. And then just take a few moments here to settle yourself down into the earth. So maybe bringing the hands onto the knees or into the lap, perhaps closing the eyes or taking a soft gaze. Start to work with the breath. Encouraging a feeling of spaciousness, of breadth, of expansion. As you breathe in, moving through the realms of the body up from the bowl of the pelvis, the solar plexus, up to the heart. And then reversing downwards. As you breathe, taking the attention to each realm. So that broad area just below the stomach. The area around the heart, spreading out wide. Down by the pelvis, the pelvic floor, the hips. Noticing sensation. Starting with some golden thread breath, inhaling through the nose and pursing the lips to exhale through the mouth. Imagining that golden thread flying away out of the window, over the trees and into the distance. Take a few of these here. After your next breath, bring your breath back to your normal breath, your normal exhales and inhales, your normal rate of movements. This is different for everyone. And we'll start with some work on the hips. So either take your legs out wide in front of you, or if it's more comfortable, you could stay in that sort of deer posture where you have one leg coming back. But you might find it's more comfortable to have maybe even the legs out in front of you. We're going to stir the pot. So we're going to start by working the hips and taking hip circles. And as you move, really move mindfully, breathing in and out as you go back and forward, noticing whether your breath wants to come in as you go forward and out as you go back, or vice versa. And then take it in the opposite direction. Slowly mobilizing into the sides of the body. And then we're going to take our arms out in front of us. So come back to the center, bring the arms out, interlace the fingers, or perhaps just hold one hand over the wrist if that's not comfortable. And start to take those movements again. But imagine that you're perhaps a witch stirring a brew. And as you come forward, really notice any sensation in the hip flexors at the front of the hips, the sides. You can keep your back quite long, or you can round a little bit if that feels better, and then taking it in the opposite direction. So take a few more of these. In yoga, we use visualizations a lot, and we all have our own imaginations. So if something else works better for you, go for that. Come back to the center. We're going to bring the shoulder down towards the ankle. So we might not come very far, but we're essentially coming into a gentle open twist. Come back up to the center. Take the other shoulder down towards the ankle. Working here into the shoulder, the side body. Take a few of these movements. Your body might feel quite tense. It might feel quite open. Only you know. Lovely. Coming back to the center when you're ready. And if it's more comfortable to move the feet at this point, we're going to take some ankle rotations. So just get yourself into a position where you can sustain this stretch of the legs. You might want to sit on something. So we're taking the ankles and circles in one direction and then the other. And then come back to the center. Slowly drawing the knees in, tilt them over to the side, and we're going to come onto all fours. So starting with that hip movement. On all fours. The hands can be as wide or as narrow as feels good for you. And we're going to do something called spinal flossing, which is similar to the movements you may have done before in cat-cows, in child postures. So slowly bring the chest through and take the gaze forwards. From here, you're going to round the spine and slowly sink the bottom back towards the heels. Coming up, you're going to come back and take the chest through again, lifting the gaze just a little bit. Rounding the spine, dropping the head and bringing the bottom back towards the heels. And take a few of these in your own time. Make this rhythmic almost as you move, sinking back into this almost child, and then moving forwards, thinking about this. If you were doing a plank posture, how you might use this to move forward as you around the back, draw the belly up towards the sky. Taking a few more of these movements. And then coming back to the center. From here, we'll come into some thread the needle. Taking the arm up and out, and then bringing it down and across underneath the other arm. Take the gaze with you. You can come as low or as high as your body wishes. Slowly opening out and coming back in. And take one more and coming back in. Come back to the center. Before you come onto the other side, just take a few rotations over the wrists. Perhaps you might like to turn the wrists and find a little movement, especially if you're working at a computer a lot. You tend to get quite tight in this area. So taking one and then the other. And then coming back to the center, you're going to take that work on the opposite side and make it mindful, just as you did when you were doing your spinal flossing. So slow and mindful movements, noticing any difference, side to side. Coming back to the center when you're ready. So after you finish that other side of your thread the needle, you're going to come back to the center. Slowly walk the hands back until you're sitting on the heels. Now, if you like to support the knees with some padding, this is a great moment. If you haven't already, take a few breaths here in your hero pose, your Virasana, sinking the bottom back downwards, perhaps supporting that as well. Paying attention to the knees, the feet. Slowly then coming up onto the shins, and we'll come into an Astrasana, into a camel. So in this back bend, we can slide the hands down the lower back, and you're going to press forward through the thighs, pressing the toes and the legs down as well, lifting through the heart, imagining a long rope running all the way from the floor up, through the pelvic floor, up through the crown of the head. As you press forward, lifting, keeping everything in line, trying to avoid hinging. And then find your way into your back bend, using the thighs to press forward rather than the chest or the belly. Take a few breaths here. And slowly come back to the center, the head coming last. Come to a kneeling posture now. So take your time to make your way into this kneeling posture. And then we're going to take a kneeling warrior two. So slowly heel toe the foot out so that your leg comes right out to the side and your other leg is still kneeling on the floor. From here, bring the hands up through the center of the body and then take them out so that the front arm is over the leg that's out to the side. Releasing the shoulders down. Maybe turn the palms up. Find space in the chest and then down. You want your arms to be about shoulder height here. If you find that you haven't got enough space for both, perhaps the back hand could come to the back of the head. So here, really focus on drawing up through the pelvic floor, engaging the abdominals, but also on planting and grounding your feet and your shin into the earth. Slowly dropping then into a side angle, so releasing the forearm down to the knee. And the back hand can either stay on the hip or it could come up to the back of the head or over the head, stretching out the upper arm coming close to the ear, the neck long. Again, just checking in. Are you really leaning into the knee or are you finding space and lift here? Again, this is about strength. Whether you're standing or kneeling to do this posture, you can still get the same work, the same ideas apply. Take the backhand back to the hip. Slide that foot out, so keeping that side leg out, and readjust. We'll come into a baby moon, as it's sometimes known, or sometimes we call it a side plank. So you can drop your hand down away from the stretched out leg and take the arm over if that feels comfortable, or keep the hand on the hip. Keep a long spine here, maybe even use the abdominals a slight amount here. To come up, you're going to engage the abdominals, so drawing the breath into the back of the body, press through the feet and come up. Slowly walk the foot back into that kneeling position and come back onto the shins. We're going to swap over. So from here, you're going to take the same sequence on the other side. So starting with your warrior two, walk the knee out until it's in the same line as your hips. And then come into your warrior. So taking that in the opposite direction, noticing how the shoulders feel. Focus on a feeling of stability and strength. Couple more breaths here. And then you're going to find your way into that side angle. Hand goes wherever feels right. Obviously, there's more compression here because you've got less space. So if the belly gets in the way, just move it out of the way. Slide the leg out and come into your baby moon, your side plank on the other side. Notice how the joints feel doing this posture. If the hand doesn't quite come to the floor, perhaps come onto fingertips or bring something like a book or a block underneath. Few more breaths here. And slowly coming back up. From here, walk back round to the kneeling position, come back to the shins and sink down, finding your seat. We'll move into a deer posture now, and we're going to work just through some well, it's either called deer or it's called like a mermaid. So you're going to bring one leg back. So one leg's crossing across the front of the body, the other leg is out at a right angle behind it. You might want to support the bottom with a blanket. Here we want to feel quite level. You might notice one cheek is coming off. So just sink back a little bit into that one. So if this is normally a comfortable seated position for you, think of this version of it as being more aware and engaged. Really focus on the sensation rather than it just being something you can kind of relax into. You can start to take some gentle rocking movements towards the leg that's at the front, oiling the joints of the hips. And then stay still for a few breaths, noticing the difference between being dynamic and being static. energy versus stillness. Leaning forwards onto that front leg, you're going to make your way into a Baddha Konasana, a bound angle posture, bringing the soles of the feet together. Notice where the knees come to here, supporting them if that feels right. Taking a few breaths here as we transition on our way to the other side. And then in your own time, making your way into that posture on the other side. We all have different things going on for our bodies, so notice any change you might feel here. You can always stretch out that back leg if it's just not working for you. There are many options, or bring both butt cheeks onto the floor. But if it's comfortable, stick with this, dear, and we'll start to find these movements. So you may hear this posture called the deer, hurdler, mermaid. There are lots of names for lots of postures. I always think whatever you imagine it to be, however you can remember it, that's probably what you'll stick with. Slowly from here, you're going to find your way out, but you're going to find your way out onto the back. So kind of roll yourself out until your legs are probably going to be quite wide. And then slowly walk the hands back, keeping the knees bent. And lift the chest into a back bend. Feet on the floor. Releasing the elbows down to the earth, coming to lie on the back. Bring the knees in, the feet towards the bottom, and take some windscreen wiper legs, releasing slowly one way and then the other. And perhaps you might like to come into a deeper twist. Personal choice. Remembering this is your body, your practice. Every movement you take is your own decision. We are here to guide you, not to tell you what to do. And in your own time, coming up to the center. And then we're going to stretch the arms out wide, perhaps up over the head, if that feels good. And just take one really big stretch. And then you're going to draw everything in and bring the knees to the chest, the arms in as well. Come into a little ball. Take a moment here, maybe rock on the back a little bit. And we'll take that one more time when you're ready, in your own time, stretching out everything. And then slowly drawing it in your own time. In your own time, slowly releasing out. We're going to come into your Shavasana. So taking your time here to find whatever you need, whatever position suits you. So maybe supporting the head and the neck, checking in with the lower back, making sure that's not pinching. Letting the legs relax out, all in your own time, no rush, no hurry. Starting to extend the breath now. Let the arms relax out alongside you. Let the breath sink through the body. In your own time, slowly releasing, imagining perhaps that there are tiny stars all over your body, slowly blinking out. Taking some time here to relax and to restore. In your own time now, start to deepen the breath. Start to find some movement in the fingers and the toes, the wrists and the ankles. Perhaps you'd like to stretch out again or bring everything in. Coming back to that feeling of being centered, grounded, calm. Slowly then starting to move, perhaps coming onto the side, taking a few more breaths there. In your own time, coming up to seated. Taking a moment here to find the breath again, to lengthen through the spine, to notice how you feel right now. Bringing one hand on top of the other at the center of the chest. Thanking yourself for coming to practice. Appreciating yourself, your own best teacher. Warming the body, the mind, and the spirit with movement and breath. With an open mind and an open heart, the light in me honors the light in you. Thank you. Well done.